Good evening. Tonight's Committee of Adjustment hearing is being held by video conference and live streaming video on the town's live stream webpage at oakville.ca. This is a hearing to consider applications for minor variance and consents held under the authority of the Planning Act. Please keep in mind the intent of this process is to review the application that is before the committee, listen to the evidence, and then make a decision. This process is not intended to be used to resolve any concerns or disputes that may exist between the town, individuals, or organizations. If a request for a deferral is made and the committee grants such a request, the applicant or authorized agent must contact the Secretary Treasurer to schedule a new hearing date. In order to conduct an effective and efficient electronic hearing, we have adopted the following process. If you are watching the live stream page of this hearing on oakville.ca, and if you wish to speak to an item on the agenda, you can call 905-815-6095. Again, the number is 905-815-6095. The phone number will also be posted below the live stream page at oakville.ca. Staff will be standing by to take your call, and when you do call in, staff will ask for your name and number and item that you wish to address. And further instructions will be provided to you to call back to join the video conference. When the chair of the committee polls for interested parties, you'll have to press *6 to unmute yourself. The applicant or agent will be given the opportunity to briefly explain to the committee the basis of their application, answer any questions that may arise. A maximum of 5 minutes will be provided for a presentation. You will need to state your full name and address for the record, and any submissions beyond the 5 minutes will be at the discretion of the committee. All delegations must also state their full name and address for the record. A maximum of 5 minutes will be provided for each presentation. All remarks and questions are to be directed to the chair, and any submissions beyond the 5 minutes will be at the discretion of the committee. The applicant or agent will then be provided with a further 5 minutes to respond to the comments made by interested parties and answer any questions from the committee members. If the applicant or agent has any concerns found in staff report, particularly with any proposed conditions, this is your opportunity to advise us. The matter will then be taken into committee for a decision, and that will mark the end of all discussions. Any person desiring a notice of the decision for an application must provide a written request, preferably through email, to the Secretary Treasurer. Written notice of the committee's decision will be mailed no later than 10 days for minor variances and 15 days for consent applications, to the applicant, agent, and any other person who has filed a written request for such notice. The last day to appeal the decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal will be noted on the decision. Please note that only the applicant, specified persons, or public bodies may appeal the committee's decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal. In November of 2022, Bill 23 legislation, the More Homes Built Faster Act, amended the Planning Act to remove appeal rights from members of the public. If no appeal is received within the prescribed timeframe, the decision of the committee becomes final and binding, and the Secretary Treasurer will then notify the applicant and anyone who has received a copy of the decision through written correspondence. People participating in this hearing are to be courteous to and respectful of the members of the committee, town staff, and any other member participating in the electronic hearing. Tonight's electronic hearing is being video recorded and available for future viewing at oakville.ca. Thank you. We have no regrets this evening. Declaration of pecuniary interests. I see none. I'll be taking requests for deferral or withdrawal of applications at this time. Anyone who is seeking to speak to the town. Further discussions. Madam Secretary Treasurer, if anyone raises their hand for a deferral, please let them.
Yes, I'm promoting Mr. Graham Barrett to panelist.
Mr. Barrett, good evening. Which application are you here for?
208 Dean Avenue.
Okay, that's CAV 140 of 2023.
Yes, we'd like to request a deferral in order to address some of the comments raised in the staff report.
Very well. You'll see the Secretary Treasurer at your earliest convenience. Members, all those in support of a deferral. Okay, the application has been deferred.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Have a good evening.
Anyone else? You too. Anyone else, Madam Secretary Treasurer?
Yes, I'm just promoting Mr. Chris Mertens.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here on behalf of application A139/2023 340 Pine Grove. I'm here to request a deferral in order to deal with planning staff comments. But before a decision is rendered by the committee on the deferral request, I'd like to ask or request the ability to speak with planning staff on the changes. I did have a question to ask planning staff in order to prior to coming to this committee hearing here tonight, and I was refused the opportunity to speak to planning staff due to the application being submitted. But I would just kindly request the ability to have a conversation with planning staff in order to make the changes that would satisfy some of their concerns. That way, when I do come back to the committee with a revised application, planning staff hopefully are in support instead of me making changes to the application and then waiting for a planning staff report, getting a negative staff report again, and then having to defer the application for the second time. So I just want to kindly put that on the record if possible.
Okay, who in planning staff did you speak to? Ms. McKnight, is this your application?
Yes, through you, Madam Chair, this is my application. I don't believe
Typically, we don't have these conversations on live and in front of all the other applicants. Usually these conversations are held, you know, beforehand, and maybe Ms. McKnight can clarify.
So through you, Madam Chair, just quickly, I was never issued who the planner was on the file, even after the application was made. I made a request through COA request at oakville.ca to have an opportunity to speak to Ms. McKnight, but was refused that opportunity and was told that planning staff opinion would be issued through their staff report and no further conversation would be available since the application is received. So understand that usually it's dealt with offline, but because I was refused the opportunity originally, I just want to put it on the public record to ensure that myself and Ms. McKnight can have a conversation based on the merits of the revised application that I propose.
Very well. Ms. McKnight, care to comment?
Yes, thank you, through you, Madam Chair. I know this is a little unconventional, having the conversation before the application is at hand, but I will just note that we don't tend to have conversations with the applicant prior to a first submission. However, being that you're requesting a deferral at this time, we are happy to have further conversations as to ensure that we can work together on this application and come to a proposal that we're both in agreement on. You can reach back out to Core Requests Oakville, and they will be able to provide you with my contact information.
Very well. Okay, so Ms. Marchese, right? Mr. Marchese, am I pronouncing it right?
Marchese, yes, close enough.
Marchese. Okay, Mr. Marchese. So you are seeking a deferral, and we will ask the committee members, all those in support of a deferral. Okay, the application has been deferred. You'll see the Secretary Treasurer at your earliest convenience, and I'm sure Ms. McKnight will be more than welcoming to your conversations this time forth.
Thank you, Madam Chair and fellow committee members. Have yourself a great evening.
You as well. Is there anyone else who's seeking a deferral, Madam Secretary Treasurer?
I do have Mr. Salman Al-Ela. He raised the hand. I'm not sure if he wants to defer or what is the intention of to speak.
Okay.
Hello,
Mr. Salman, are you here for a deferral? Are you requesting a deferral?
No, actually, I'm not requesting for deferral. I raised my hand because I just want to check my speakers and microphone so that when my turn comes, I will be loud and clear enough for everybody to understand.
Okay, we hear you loud and clear.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Members, anyone else would like to raise any issues before we take the matter into first committee? Okay, very well. Mr. Talowski, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I believe CAV A138 at 64 Navy should be deferred for insufficient notice. As you know, corner lots should have signage on both the frontage and the flankage, and I only saw one sign on my site visit. And I also understand, Madam Chair, that the applicant in this case did not supply the proof of the signage being posted to the Secretary Treasurer within the time frame in which it's supposed to be done.
Very well. The agent for CAV 138 of 2023 at 64 Navy Street, I believe is Anita McKay. Is that correct? Who's here for this application?
I just promoted Mr. Rick Matelian. He's the agent for this application.
Okay. Mr. Mateljan.
Yes, good evening, members. My name is Rick Intelligent. I'm the agent for the applicant. The applicant and the homeowner is Ms. McKay.
Okay. Mr. Mateljan, can you put your camera on, please?
Oh, certainly. Is it on now?
No, we hear you loud and clear, but we just don't see you.
There we go.
Okay, there we go. Perfect.
So yeah, so I'm the agent for the homeowner. I did post the sign. I actually posted it just prior to going on a holiday, and so I posted the sign. I took the photos. I did not, and in fact, I forgot to send in the form and so on until I got back from my holiday. And when I did get back, I did send it. So the sign has been posted. Staff has the document. Staff has the photo. There's obviously a date stamp on the photo and so on. So that certainly was done.
But I think the problem is not only that there's one sign posted.
Yes.
That there's both signs should be posted because it is a corner lot. So,
Okay.
And since that is the case, we have no choice but to defer the application. Because of insufficient notice, as you're well aware of the requirements to have it posted for a minimum of 10 days before the meeting.
Well, actually, to be honest, I was not aware of the requirement to post on two sides, and in fact, staff, of course, only provided me with the one sign, which is what I posted. If that's the requirement of the committee, then of course we can do that. But I was not aware of that requirement to post on two sides.
Sorry, the staff did not provide you with both signs?
I was only provided with the one sign, that's correct.
Madam Secretary Treasurer?
I believe I left two signs on the spot because there was a corner lot. There was two signs.
So
there were two signs.
Well, they may have been provided. When I picked them up at town hall on that day, they only gave me one. There may well have been a second one the other that wasn't provided, but I was only provided with one when I picked it up at town hall on that day.
Okay, well, we just wanted you to have the opportunity to speak to the matter. When there is insufficient signage as per the requirements, we have to defer in order for everyone who is affected with the application to be well aware of the application and so forth. So we're going to take the matter into a vote right now, and we'll take it from there. All those in support of a deferral based on insufficient signage? Okay, the application has been deferred. Mr. Bataljan, please make sure that you do pick up 2 signs for this corner lot, and you'll see the secretary treasurer, and she'll get you in on the earliest docket that's available.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
Okay, good night.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, you too.
Mr. Hardcastle, you had your hand up as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair. During my site visit, site visits, I noticed 2. I'll bring them up in order. 880 Balbeer at A141 2023. Again, a corner lot. There was one sign posted. The one on Balbeer was not present at the time of my visit on October the 2nd.
Very well, and that is CAV 141 at 2023 at 88 Balbeer Road. Who is okay? That's Mr. Salman. We heard you loud and clear. So, care to explain why the signage was not provided accordingly on both sides of the corner lot?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Basically, what happened is that my client homeowner picked up the signs from the town of Oakville. He's not aware that it's a corner lot and 2 signs they are posted, but we did post 1 sign. We sent the pictures to the Committee of Adjustment, and there is another lady, Jasmina. She contacted us for another signature for another sign. We did that post and then send the proof to her.
Yes, I do recognize that you sent the proof of the second sign when it went up. However, it was not up for the length of the period that is required. So this is why we are, Mr. Hardcastle is asking for a deferral because of insufficient signage, as you just heard with the last application. All corner lots have to have them posted on both sides for the entire duration that is required to have them.
I do understand that, but if that information is provided well in advance to the applicant or to the homeowner, when we are putting the first sign, we have no problem in putting the second sign. I would still request if Committee of Adjustment then can keep this application in today's meeting. That would be great. Otherwise, then we have to defer and then go to the next meeting.
Yes, we will have to vote on a deferral because the motion is already up, and just to be fair, that all corner lots have to have the same signage. So you will have to be subject to the same rules as the application that was prior to you. All those in support of a deferral? Okay, the application has been deferred. You will have to see the Secretary Treasurer and she'll get you in on the earliest docket possible.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
Same to you. Bye.
Mr. Hardcastle, you said there was another one. I believe it's CEV 144, right? At Summit.
Correct, Madam Chair. Upon my site visit again on October the 2nd, I saw only a sign on Merton, and this property has frontage on 4 public roads or 4 roads, and I only saw the 1 sign.
Okay. Very well.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I have to, for this one, everything else is, but for this one, I provided 2 signs. When I took the look from my GIS, I saw only Bronte and Martin in Southwest Boulevard. So I didn't provide the 3rd and 4th sign. However, they are facing one empty lens from that side. That's why my confusion was. But I provided 2 signs for this property. And okay. I can promote. Not sure who is the agent for this one. I'm gonna promote Adam Nanji.
Hello, Chair.
Good evening, Mr. Nanji. You're muted. Okay, try speaking again because we can't hear you.
Is that working better now?
Okay, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so we were provided two signs. That is correct. They were posted along Merton Avenue and along the corner of Sawlett Boulevard and Bronte Road. They were posted in a similar fashion as a couple of the other signs that were in the area. And as soon as we received notice earlier this week that the third sign needed to be posted, it was posted along Littlefield Crescent, and we sent those photos and videos in, or the photos in both on September 19th as well as earlier this week on the 2nd, and staff had no other issues.
Okay. I guess it is considered insufficient signage, but given that staff did not provide you with the signs, I would propose that we waive the deferral fee, but in fairness to everyone else that has had to endure a deferral because of insufficient signage, that's my proposition. We'll have to take the matter into committee. Any comments from the committee staff? Sorry, from the committee? Mr. Hardcastle, go ahead, sir.
Madam Chair, thank you. I think that's a fair compromise. I think we need to hold all applicants to similar standard, but we need to recognize the situation here, and I think waiving the fee would be appropriate in this circumstance.
Okay, very well. All those in support of the deferral? Okay, very well. So you will get on the next docket and make sure that you do get all the signs that are required and have them posted for the duration of the that is required. And provide proof. And I guess that goes to all applicants that are listening to this right now. Please make sure that you have all your signage up for the duration that is required with proof submitted so that you do not have to endure a deferral when your application comes forth. All right, we will take the first matter into committee, and that would be CAV 142 of 2023 at 3228 South Service Road. Again, that's CAV 142 of 2023 at 3228 South Service Road. I believe, who is the agent here?
Good evening, Madam Chair. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Dell. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. It's not often that the applications before me are cleared so quickly that I can go first, but I'm pleased to be before you with this exciting design. I'm going to take you on a brief presentation through this proposal. It's unique in its restrictions, and from the uniqueness of its restrictions, we come up with a very unique design that has had some corollary or some very logically flowing from variances related to parking. We're here for 6 variances this evening. One related to an interior westerly side yard setback for landscape buffer. One related to a rooftop mechanical unit, and the rest are related to parking. Both the reduction of parking spaces for a business office, the minimum dimension of width of those parking spaces, the obstructions, and the required width of parking spaces that have obstructions within them, and the separation distance of parking spaces from a building in an employment zone. I'm going to start by asking staff to please go to page 7 of the drawing package that was publicly available online. And when we get to page 7, you're going to see a proposal wherein my client was, through their due diligence, was made aware of a holding provision on this lot that required the extension of municipal services in order to service this lot. And there's quite a distance and quite a public infrastructure undertaking that my client has undergone at his own cost to extend the sanitary and water mains to this property in order to remove the holding provision. That's the first restriction that our due diligence revealed 3 years ago before we went to site plan approval. The second being, if staff could sorry, thank you for going around for me. If staff could go to page 3 of the package available to the public. You'll see here that there's a 14-meter setback required from the Ministry of Transportation. Because of their highway corridor management policies, all new development has to be appropriately set back from the service road so that it doesn't get in their way when they're looking to expand the highway in the future. And the QEW is an incredible movement corridor, so they're definitely going to. And so we have to make sure that they can with the design that we're proposing. And this would be one of the major hurdles, because extending services down South Service Road is going to be within the 14-meter setback. And so we had to difficultly, but I would say off policy or in a unique setting, negotiate and receive approval from the Region of Halton, the Conservation Authority of Halton, Ministry of Transportation, and local planning staff, that no essential infrastructure is going to be built within the 14-meter setback. And so that's why one of the variances for parking is being triggered. It's not that there isn't going to be enough parking provided in practice. It's that we've noticed through a parking utilization study that the number of spaces within that setback can't be counted. So that's why one of the variances, Madam Chair, reflects sort of a reduction to the typical parking rate that you're to apply to business offices. If staff doesn't mind going now just up one page to page 2, there's a red color-coded site plan that'll identify the different variances. And the variances all pertain under the canopy or the cantilevered second floor that overhangs across the drive aisle. It's a one-way drive aisle around this sawtooth-shaped building. There is an erosion feature that we've gotten approval from the Conservation Authority to be adequately set back from 15 meters from the long-term stable top of slope, because this is a tributary of Bronte Creek. It's a major valley system. And so in addition to the 14-meter setback, we also have a 15-meter setback coming at an angle to the property. And from that bias, we've had to design our building in the sawtooth fashion you see it. And so to make up for floor area on the second floor, but also to provide enough parking, we've cantilevered or an overhanging building over that drive aisle of parking spaces. And between each of the parking spaces, you'll see a small column for the structural support of the cantilevered overhang. And it's the zoning bylaw's intention that buildings in an employment zone that have obstructions, which in this case are the building columns for the second floor, do have a little bit wider parking spaces. And the intent of that is to make sure that nobody's bringing their nose in too tightly to a column and nobody's opening their door and hitting a column. But those are appropriate in more major public senses. This is a very shrouded, or I would say a very secluded part of the employment, the business employment zone. It's right up next to a parkway belt, and it's heavily influenced by restrictions from the Conservation Authority. And to the rear of the property, much of the natural features will be dedicated gratuitously into the regional woodland that's back there. And so through all of these different approval agencies, we've had to move our building around to accommodate different authorities from natural features and safety and hazards, as well as public infrastructure upgrades by extending services at my client's own expense, and recognizing that the highway will be improved one day, and this building is future ready for that. So these are what I would call reactionary variances relating to design changes that have been implemented to make a harmony of approvals across all the different agencies that we've been working with through site plan approval over the past 3 years. And I am very proud to put this forward to the committee as sort of our final step for site plan approval, because I do note that we have staff support and that we are doing our best to design something that meets the intent of the zoning bylaw and the official plan and improves employment for the region, but not at the expense of functionality for pedestrians and for traffic. I note that there was an objection from the neighbor to the east, which would be the plan right. And if staff could go to the first page of the renderings, or excuse me, the first page showing the renderings, this is going to be helpful to alleviate some of the concerns that the neighbor may have. Sometimes the variances are written very dry and they don't give a lot of information on where the mechanical units would be placed. But as you can see on the south view, which is the first image on that page, you have sort of a layered step different rooftops, and the neighboring question is to the right of that, and the mechanical units are proposed to be on the roof of the second floor, covered by those other stepped layers from the third and fourth floor. So there is not a mechanical penthouse enclosure per se, but there is quite a lot of noise and visual breaking up in the massing of the building. And through the building permit process, there will be additional screenings for the outfitting of users that come into this business office. But for my part in this, Madam Chair, I'm very happy with the design. We've worked very hard with staff at a variety of levels, and we're ready to move forward with a positive decision today. And I would note that my client is a great custom home builder, 2022 Custom Home Builder of the Year. They asked me to say that. And I think I'd be happy to answer any questions about this design and the journey we've been on the last 3 years.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Dell. Members, do you have any questions of Mr. Dell at this time? I see none. Is Mr. Brian Hood or Patricia Hood on hand? Do they want to address the committee? We do recognize that they have a letter of objection, and I believe Mr. Dell has addressed some of their concerns. Madam Secretary Treasurer, has anyone raised their hand?
No, I don't see them in attendance. They're not there.
Okay. Okay. Very well. If there are no questions of Mr. Dell and there's no one else that cares to speak to the application, we'll take the matter into committee. Who would like to move a motion? Okay, give you a minute to look things over, and then I'll ask for a motion again. Mr. Hardcastle, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Having undertaken my site visit, having reviewed the materials, including the written staff report, and having heard the applicant's presentation, I'm satisfied that the requested variances conform to the test of the Act, and I'll put forward a motion of approval. That motion would be subject to 2 conditions. Those being that the proposed office building be constructed in general accordance with the submitted site plan dated 06/22/23, and that the approval expires within 2 years of the date of the decision if a building permit has not been issued. Thank you.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Hardcastle. Is there a discussion on this recommendation? Okay, I see none. All those in support? Okay, the application has been approved, none opposed. Thank you, Mr. Dell. Have a good night.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, staff.
Okay, application CAV 143 of 2023 at 74 Dromorda Drive. I'm saying this right. CAV 143 of 2023 at 74 Dromorda Drive. Mr. Habibi, go ahead, sir.
Good evening, Madam Chair and the member of the committee. I actually don't have any presentation ready, but I can just briefly explain what the intention with this application is. And if there's any question, I'll be more than happy to answer. I'm the owner of the property, and we are intending to have that addition on that top left corner of the house. The purpose of the addition is to provide more space, as my parents are actually coming to move in with me, and I'm also in the I'm expecting to actually growing my own family as well. So I believe We are here for one variance, which is the setback. It's required to have a setback of 7.5 meter from the rear yard, which we are intending to have 6.7 meter from the rear yard after this addition. And if there is any question, I'll be more than happy to answer. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Habibi. Are there any questions or items of clarification of town staff or Mr. Habibi at this time? Okay, I see none. Is there anyone who is seeking to speak to this application, Madam Secretary Treasurer?
There is no phone calls at this time.
Okay, very well. Then we'll take the matter into committee. Who would like to move a motion? Go ahead, Mr. Dickey. You're muted again. We need to have a post-it on that button somehow.
Chair, I'll be happy to take care of if he figured. I think he just figured it out.
I got it. I don't know what I did right. Sorry about that. I should have been thinking ahead.
Go ahead, Mr. Dickey.
Thanks. Based on my review of the owner's application, the site plan, the building elevations, and my site visit, together with the planning staff's report, it is my opinion that the variance is minor and conforms to the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and therefore I would like to make a motion that the application be approved. Oh, subject to the conditions that the additions be constructed in general accordance with the submitted site plan and elevation drawings dated July 31st, 2023, and the approval expires 2 years from the date that the decision for building permit is not being issued for the proposed construction.
Very well. Is there discussion on this recommendation? I see none. All those in support? Okay, the application has been approved. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you, everyone.
None opposed. Yep. Okay. Application CAV 71 of 2023 deferred from May 31st of 2023 at 348 Stanfield Drive. Again, that's CAV 071 of 2023 deferred from May the 31st at 348 Stanfield Drive. Good evening, Ms. Knoll.
Hi, Madam Chair. I am actually here with regards to the deferral for the sign posting that you mentioned for Sawet. I didn't know if I can just make one statement. I know we've passed along it, and I understand we will be deferred. But I just do want to provide clarity that the circulation letter that we are provided with our sign posting does not state that it has to be at all frontages. It just says it needs to be posted in a prominent location, clearly visible from the road or the street. And we did provide it at the visibility triangle for that intersection. And then when we were provided additional signs, we did post them on the additional frontage.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. I believe that when the signs are being picked up, staff usually gives direction. Madam Secretary Treasurer, do you care to comment?
There is a sign postage, the notice, and it says it has to be clear readable from the road. Doesn't say to be posted on the both roads, but the two signs were provided, and Sarah just sent me one picture of the sign before and one after, and the sign signed it, but she did it was like two signs sent to her, like from the beginning.
Right, but it's incorrect that we only sent one picture of a sign. We were given two signs at the initial posting. They were both posted, both photos were provided back on, I believe it was September 18th. And then just yesterday, we were provided another sign and we posted that as well.
Correct.
All signs, all pictures of all signs were provided to the committee.
Well, I think the problem is the fact that the second one was not posted for the duration of the 10-day period that's required, and that's why it has to be deferred. But why did you not speak at the time that we spoke of the Sawet 144 application?
My colleague Adam spoke at that time.
Okay, so you are not representing them, or you are?
Yes, Adam and I are both from GSP Group, the planning consultants.
Oh, okay, I see. That's why you're speaking up now, and you weren't there at the beginning. Okay. Well, you know what? I can understand the confusion. We'll make every effort to make these clarifications in the written instructions moving forward. But what I understand is that usually staff, when they provide the two signs, they let you know that you need to put them on both frontages. That's why you're provided with two signs. And if that somehow got missed, well, you know, we apologize. There will be clarification moving forward. And for people who have come in front of the committee and other veterans in front of this committee, they should know better. So having said that, let's move on to the next application that you're here for. And that would be the CAV 071, correct? You're speaking
no,
to that one?
That's not me.
Oh, okay, because I have Sarah Knoll as an agent. You're not the same Sarah Knoll then?
That one is not for me. I was just the Sawet.
Oh, okay. So is there another Sarah Knoll for the 348 Stanfield Drive?
I promoted
Or is that an error?
Mr. Hani Kalini for this one. I do have
so
him.
that's an error on the thing. Okay. Well, I'm glad we got to chat. Thank you for that clarification. I appreciate you coming forward, and we'll make those adjustments for sure.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Have a good night. Okay, Mr. Kalini, I guess this is yours. CAV 071 at 348 Stanfield Drive, deferred from May 31st.
Correct. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. And thanks for having us back here in front of the committee. And thanks for giving me the opportunity to get the time to chat with the planner and get this issue sorted out with them before we come back here. So if the previous application, we were proposing 4 variances, and after speaking with the planner, we managed to eliminate 2 of the variances altogether, the coverage and the height. And we now limited to the garage area and the extra square footage. Also, following the planner recommendation, we also did some rework to reduce the additional square footage requested to be below the 39%. So that was also done. And we also prepared a set of drawing for the presentation, which you see on the screen. So this would be the final look of the house. And if you go to the second page, please. The SAT stats indicate that we actually we're exceeding all the other zoning requirement except for the garage area. We're requesting 50 square meter in lieu of the zoning bylaw 45 meter, and we're requesting additional square footage for a 38.7% instead of the 37%. And I think just to go through the plans, if you go to the last page, I think that summarized the issue is You can see this is the before and after using the render of the new house on the same lot in the same location of the existing, using the green wall between this property and the property to the north of us that actually creates this visual separation between the two properties. And on the south, we brought the roof line down to the first floor just to mitigate the transition to the house to the south, which is one-story home. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Collini. Are there any questions or items of clarification on Mr. Collini at this time? Okay, I see none. Is there anyone who would like to speak to this application, Madam Secretary Treasurer?
There is no phone calls at this time.
Okay. Who would like to move a motion? Go ahead, Mr. Tlowski. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I agree with Mr. Collini. I think the design of the house, particularly the roof line, goes a long way to mitigate the variance being requested with respect to the floor area. I don't find that there's going to be any impact from these variances. I would note that there was no objection from the community. I would move the application be approved as applied for, finding that it meets the four tests of the Planning Act, and I would make that approval conditional on the dwelling being constructed in general accordance with the submitted site plan and elevation drawings dated August 28th, 2023, and that the approval expires within 2 years if the building permit hasn't been issued.
Very well, thank you, Mr. Tlowski. Is there a discussion on this recommendation? I see none. All those in support? Okay, the application has been approved, none opposed.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay, so application CAV 092 of 2023 at 1083 Kent Avenue. That's deferred from July the 12th. Again, that's CAV 092 of 2023 deferred from July the 12th at 1083 Kent Avenue.
Yes, good afternoon, Madam Chair. This is
Good
Matthew
evening.
Potter-Tinsley. Good evening. This is Matthew Potter-Tinsley, the authorized agent of the owner, address 107 Gladstone Avenue in Hamilton, Ontario. This was before the committee. It was deferred from the original staff report referencing a possible missing variance. This was in regard to the front setback. As the committee knows, the required front setback now is the legally existing setback at the time of the creation of the bylaw of 2014. In 2020, there was an addition at this address. It was proposed to be 7.5 meter front setback. It was actually constructed to 7.45 meters. So staff is essentially saying that this was not a legal existing setback. In our opinion, being built to 7.45 meters does technically comply with this required setback of 7.5 meters, as the stipulation of 7.5 meter setback is one significant digit or one decimal point. So 7.45 would be essentially 7.5 meter setback. There is no objections on this application, so I believe the committee was prepared to approve our last hearing. We're just hoping that maybe the committee can recommend a refund for the owner. In this case, the deferral fee. It seems we're being kind of tied up with a technicality here. In 2010, we applied for a 7.5 meter setback. We were granted that. We built 5 centimeters off. We did note that the bylaw states the setback measured the building, which is the structure. The 7.45 meter setback is actually to the siding. The foundation is actually at 7.5 meters. There was a lot of dialogue back and forth with planning staff, but ultimately they suggested that they don't do a full review and that we would need to apply for a building permit so zoning could complete a full review. So ultimately we never really confirmed this missing variance is really required. So as I say, I think we're kind of tied up in a technicality here, and the owners would be very appreciative if perhaps a refund of the deferral fee to be granted. Aside from that, I would defer to the committee for any questions.
Very well, thank you for the presentation. Are there any questions of Mr. Fatangeli at this time? If staff can zoom out so I can see the panel. Thank you. Questions, go ahead, Mr. Tlowski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Couple of questions. I'm not quite sure I understood the rationale for the waiver of the deferral fee. Was it decided after the deferral that the question that was raised at the time was not at issue?
It was, the staff position is essentially that in 2010 the constructed house was built to 7.45 meters, which was not a legal setback. So they're saying that the legal setback at the time of the bylaw was in fact the original house, which had a setback of 9.22 meters. But our position is that we proposed 7.5 meters. The requirement was 7.5 meters. That's one significant digit, one decimal place. So building to 7.45 meters technically would comply with one significant digit of 7.5 meters. In addition to this, our foundation is actually set back 7.5 meters. It's deciding that projects slightly past the foundation of 5 centimeters, creating the 7.45 meter setback currently. And we did note that the bylaw definition for building and measuring setbacks is to be taken to the structure. In our opinion, the structure would be the foundation, the sheathing, and the stud, not the exterior finish system, which would be the siding. So I think our position is this is a bit of a technicality. You know, planning staff weren't able to truly confirm if this missing variance is actually required. They recommended we would need to apply for a building permit. The issue with that is I don't believe we can apply for a building permit without a full permit set of drawings, which we don't really prepare until after variance has been granted. For example, the grading plan, the HVAC document, and so on. So we're hoping that we can move forward today with the way that the front setback variance is written, but the owners would be appreciative if the committee could grant a refund of the deferral fee.
Any further questions?
Madam Chair, I would like to hear from staff. It sounds like the applicant's saying they should be measuring from the foundation, and staff are measuring from the siding.
Go ahead, Mr. Moseev.
To you, Madam Chair. Our zoning staff confirmed that the front yard setback would be from the legally existing front yard setback, which since the 7.45 meters was not legally existing, it reverts back to the original setback 9.22 meters. So the current required front yard setback would be 9.22 meters minus 1 meter, which would be 8.22 meters. So based on that, the variance is required. I hope that clarifies your question.
Do you
follow up, Mr. Tlowski?
So do you agree with the applicant's view that this issue is because you're measuring the setback from a different location on the building?
Our zoning staff have confirmed that they measure from the edge of the outside material of the building, the whatever it is, could be siding or a brick or anything. They don't measure from the foundation.
Okay, thank you. That's what I was looking to hear. Madam Chair, if I can, I have another question for the applicant with respect to the driveway.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate that when you're putting an addition on an existing house, that there's going to be cases like this where you're going to get a lot of variances, a lot of truly minor variances, but I'm struggling with how you ended up with an 81% coverage driveway. And
this is an existing condition, actually. This is an existing circular driveway that was basically maintained throughout the construction.
yeah, and I appreciate it's existing, but when we have a variance in front of the committee that's dealing with something that's existing but doesn't comply, in my view, you have to look at it as, would you have approved that in the first place? And in my mind, this is a significant variance, and to cover 81% of the front yard with asphalt, which doesn't comply with the bylaw. And on my site visit, it appeared to be used for essentially front yard storage of trailers, which I don't find to be an appropriate use of a front yard circular driveway. So I'm hoping you can help explain to me why this would be considered both minor and desirable.
I would say it would be considered minor. It's been existing for quite some time, I believe before 2010. So it is part of the character of this lot. Been utilized for quite some time, and there was no comments or objections from staff in this case regarding the driveway. I think we would feel this to be minor. This thing, I think the alternative would be that the committee would have the owner remove the circular driveway or portions of it, which doesn't seem to be there so many years after it's been existing.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions or items of clarification? Go ahead, Mr. Dickey.
I'm a little bit confused as to how this all came about, and maybe the town planner can sort of add or clarify things. It isn't as if this house, whenever it was built in 2000, not whenever it was added to in 2014, it does not comply. Am I correct there? It wasn't as if it complied to the zoning bylaw that was in effect prior to 2014. Is that correct? Town planner?
Through you, Madam Chair, there was a driveway permit approved in 2014 for the driveway. That was noted in the previous comments on July 12th meeting.
Madam Chair, through you. To me, a driveway permit is from the engineering department. And to me, a driveway permit deals with the portion of the driveway that extends from the front property line onto the road. And that portion of that driveway is on public land. So I was under the impression that that's what the engineering department would have been looking at. It is not their responsibility to look on the subject property to see what it complies or not. That's the zoning department's responsibility. And furthermore, on the website, the engineering driveway permit, it says that the applicant must comply with the zoning bylaw. So I don't quite understand why the fact that he has an engineer's driveway permit is relevant to the variances in front of him.
Through you, Madam Chair, this staff did not have any concerns because of the existing condition on the driveway, and noting that the driveway permit was also issued. Unfortunately, there was a zoning discrepancy that was missed at the time, but that is staff's opinion at this time. staff did not have any concerns.
Okay, can I
Because
go
it
on
takes,
another?
go ahead,
Do you,
sorry.
again, Madam Chair, can I go on another situation with regard? So on the north side, the side yard setback is, I don't have it right in front of me, it's about a foot, less than 2 feet. Well, that means when the house to the north is torn down, that house has to be set back 2.4 meters from the subject property's house. Therefore, the house to the north, when it redevelops, and it's like a 1940s, 1950s house, that house will have to have a wider side yard setback because the subject property has a narrower side yard setback. Am I correct on that issue or that matter, or am I wrong on that matter?
Through you, Madam Chair, it will have to be confirmed by zoning, but my understanding is that the side yard setback is calculated from the property line and not from the adjacent dwelling.
Well, sorry, to Madam Chair. Well, in other instances we've been aware of in the few months I've been here, there has been something in zoning about the two walls, adjacent walls have to be 2.4 meters apart for fire code purposes. Okay, you're not aware of that. Okay, sorry, that's it. Thank you very much.
Okay, anything further? Miss Yu, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This application was deferred from July meeting, so I took a look at the comments back in July, and I did notice that there were 2 objection letters from the neighbors. I just want to ask the applicant if they have discussed their concerns since last meeting in July.
We have not been aware of any letters of objection. We've been updated with letters of objection.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Maybe I want to know if there are like any objection letters or someone called in regarding this application. Maybe I have more questions
Not
later.
that we have on record right now. No.
Okay, thanks.
I don't know. Madam Secretary Treasurer, did we have any objections the last time this application came before us?
Madam Chair, I'm just going through all emails. Wherever I can. If you can give me a moment, just a second, please.
Sure.
Through Madam Chair, I don't see any addendums or anything. Just a second, please, again, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Correct, I don't see any addendums or any objection letters in the comments from July. No, there was no comments in July.
Okay.
Okay.
Very well. Ms. Yu, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Maybe my memory comes wrong. Thanks.
Okay. Anything further? Okay, are we ready to take the matter into committee? Who would like to start us off? And I do mean making a motion. Then we can start discussing. Give you a few minutes. Okay. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Tlowski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll get the discussion going. Madam Chair, I can't support variance number 1. I don't believe that driveway is minor or desirable. I take Mr. Dickey's comments on what the driveway permit does and doesn't do. Does not override zoning. Madam Chair, I'm going to move that variance number 1 be denied. Variances 2 through 8 be approved. Finding that those variances meet the test of the Planning Act, I don't find them to have an impact representing largely the existing portion of the dwelling that's going to remain. I would note that we've had no objection from the neighborhood at this application, and I would make that approval of variances 2 through 8 subject to addition to existing dwelling proceeding in general accordance with the submitted elevation drawings dated March 28, 2023. Secondly, that the addition be constructed in general accordance with the revised site plan, which shows a compliant driveway to the satisfaction of the Director of Planning. And thirdly, that the approval expires 2 years if a building permit has not been issued.
Okay, Mr. Tlowski. Discussion on this recommendation. Mr. Hardcastle?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just take a moment to echo Mr. Tlowski's comments about the excessive hard surface area in the front yard here and reservations, and that I will be supporting the motion on the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Hardcastle. Anyone else? Okay, there's no further comments. The motion before us is to deny variance 1 and approve variance 2 to 8 with the conditions that are set forth, in addition to a condition that the plans be submitted to the satisfaction of the Director of Planning showing a complying driveway. Did I get that right? Okay, all those in support? Okay. The application has been approved, none opposed.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Have a good night. We have minutes to confirm from September the 20th. I will take the motion. But I go ahead. Thank you, Mr. Hardcastle. And then we have motion to adjourn at 8:10. Thank you, Mr. Hardcastle. Adjourned at 8:10 p.m. Madam Secretary Treasurer, when you